Alright, first things first, guys. I noticed in row 13 there's another XR600, so I had to get his start. Welcome to Nosy Joe's Motovlog. Here's my coverage of the Bridge Brothers Round 9 MSXC. It was on March 3rd, 2024 in Marion, Kentucky. You're watching Senior C row 16. There's Jeremy Reed there on my right. He took off. I don't know if he got the whole shot or not. He's currently leading this class in points. I want to say that's George Burge on the KTM. I'm not 100% on that. And that's Jose on his shiny new paint Husqvarna there on my right that I just passed. Royce Bailey's up there on the Honda, red bike, blue pants. I'm motivated on this first lap to try to get out ahead. Not that I'm going to lead, but I didn't want to start off so far behind and have to catch up. There's Royce. And so I do expend a lot of energy in this first lap to do that, which includes killing it. This is the only time I kill it, I think, on the first lap. No big deal. Allow a couple of guys to get past me, though. Jose being one of them. And so now I gotta chase him back down. The weather was near 70 degrees and sunny. I think it rained here maybe Friday some in the morning, but it hadn't rained in a couple days, so for the most part it was dry. Just like any good hare scramble in Kentucky, though, that we did get into a little bit of mud, but nothing like the last race. Speaking of the last race, you might have noticed that I didn't ever post that one. I still might. I just man, it was a rough race for me. I just didn't get in the mood to make the video, but I still might do it. So anyway, I gotta get in my groove here a little bit and chase these guys down. A couple things I did in prep on this race is I changed the rear tire out to an IRC M5B. I used to run that tire as kind of my go-to tire, and then I kind of got into these hybrid gummies for a while, but the 600 just tends to eat those up, so I went to the M5B here, and it was a really good choice for today. If you ever seen one of those tires, it's got really deep lugs on it. I went with a 130. They actually make it at a 140, but I'll warn you, if you get the 140, it almost doesn't want to turn. It's just kind of so wide. 130 is not great, but it's better as far as turning. But they make that tire down into a 110, 120, I want to say, so there's a lot of choices. I've never ran the front version, but I really do like the rear. I really should have had it last race. It would have been a different race altogether if I would have put that fresh M5B on there. So I got Jose in my sights now. He's got a sweet looking Husqvarna. Got his stickers all matched, kind of that metallic paint on the blue frame of the Huskies, and then he's got gold wheels on there, I think sharp. So I got him back in my sights. Little creek crossing here, a little bit of mud, but no big deal. And they drop us down into this creek, take a left, and guys are getting stuck coming out of it. So yeah, I think I take the far left line here. Jose. There were definitely ruts, even though this wasn't terribly muddy. It was just soft enough, though, that as the day went by, the ruts got deeper. You can see it. And there were definitely some that people were getting their foot pegs stuck on. I didn't have too much trouble with them. I know I got into some deep ones, but with the traction of the tires and my foot pegs just kind of folding up, the 600 would just kind of push it on through. So the reason why I'm wanting to do a little bit better in this race is it's getting towards the end. There's only one more. This is the 9th race, and there's only 10. The last one being at the slab here in 2 weeks. And currently, before this race, I was 7th in points. Last year I finished 5th. Now I was on a 302 stroke when I did that, but I was kind of hoping to prove to myself that I could finish just as well with the 600. That's not going to happen, but I still feel pretty good about it. And to cut to the chase, I didn't actually improve my point standing. I'm not that far back. I'm maybe 5 points from 6th, but it's going to be hard to make that all up in one race. So we'll see. I've already got my 2 drops in there. This was one of the bad spots here to our right that Cash talked about before the race. You could kind of go right, but you have kind of a slick little climb next to that tree, and you got some deep water there, or you went left like we did. But the left route took you through some deep ruts too, but I did the left route every single time. I was tempted maybe to do the one on the right, but the one on the left was more solid. Jose and I still battling it out here. He and I have kind of done this all year long. If you watch my videos, we've been real close in many of the races. I remember the Glacier run. He and I did a lot of back and forth. I think he was on a KTM earlier in the year. Husky looks fresh. So I know I passed at least 1 or 2 guys where guys were hung up there on that little hill climb. There's a little rocky downhill. Here, I was hoping this was the downhill that Cash had warned us about. This is kind of another thing that he talked about before the race, but it wasn't. That downhill was a little bit bigger. Pretty good hill climb here. I decided maybe I can outclimb Jose with my M5B on the 600, so I take the opportunity climbing that hill to get around him, past that Yamaha. But I know those guys are going to be close behind me, so I gotta get with it here. Kind of some good open spots here and there on these little log roads, and then you'll really see it when we get into the fields. Another creek crossing. I always kind of hug the left here to stay out of that mud that was starting to develop as people carried water out of the Another thing Cash talked about, and I think it was really key to this race, is they didn't, I mean, this was a brand new property, so they, I guess you could say, made trails, but they did a lot of just marking trees and let the trails develop on their own. Of course, the ATVs had raced the day before, and they had kind of made a path for us. But the way to really make this race work for you, which I did a little bit of, was not confine yourself to the course that had been, I mean, you gotta confine yourself to the course, but not to the exact trail that had been made. Utilize the 20-foot rule or whatever it is, and if there's a better path, a fresher path, take it, because especially as those ruts developed, that was just a good way to get out of them. Just go 10 foot to the right or to the left and make a new trail. So did a lot of that, and that was really key because there are some ruts you just didn't want to get into. Another good pass there. First gear, hill climb here. Two-stroke, a little 85, I believe it is. He waves me on. I think he ends up catching me on the fourth lap. I'll tell you more about my fourth lap later. Yeah, here's a good one. Just go to the right and miss some of those deep ruts. Take a fresher trail to the left or to the right, and then back to the left, and make up some time. A lot of off-camber in this race, not necessarily right here, but it was noticeable. It was a good, for a new property that hadn't been raced before, I mean, I think it was good. Really no complaints, a lot of variety between the creek crossings and the hills, and, some rocks, and it was just a good soil type for the dirt bikes. Nothing too weird. Didn't really notice any slick clay or anything like that. Had your roots, but I don't know of any property in Kentucky that you ride that doesn't. There's trees, there's roots. So if I didn't say it already, I'm just going to show my first lap. I normally just do one, and sometimes it's my best lap, or sometimes it's just the most interesting, and this kind of was the case. Both those cases were true of this first lap. I finished the best of any lap. I was in 5th place at the end of this one. I did the most passing. But I think I kind of outdid myself, put too much energy in the first lap, which, I kind of did on purpose, but I didn't realize I wasn't going to hold up so well. So each kind of subsequent lap, I lost a couple minutes. I did like a 25, a 27, a 29, and then I had a wreck in the 4th lap, which hurt my knee a little bit, but the main issue was I just lost a lot of time getting the bike started. So here's the downhill that we were warned about, and I ended up kind of taking this path to the right each time. I had a little softer landing, or it looked like it did. And it really wasn't that big a deal. And open up again to a log road. Little jump here. And I got to get in a second. Make some hay. But yeah, fourth lap with that mistake and then trouble getting the bike restarted. It was like a 36-minute lap for me, which put me at like an hour and 58, so they went ahead and gave me the checkered flag where the guy ahead of me had to go a fifth lap, and honestly, I was kind of okay with that. I was just so beat. I don't know if my conditioning was off. I haven't been doing that much different, but I just... I was ready for it to be over after that fourth lap. So this is pretty cool, these field crossings. I was able to get into third and fourth gear and really open it up. I think right now, if you watch Small Fortune Racing, his video, he's right behind me through this section on the CRF 250X. I'm kind of opening it up. The 600 is an advantage in these open areas. The way the transmission is set up, it's got a lot of top end. So yeah, Jackson's pretty close behind me through most of this, and then he'll pass me here in a bit. I think up here somewhere we're going to see 30-06. That might be him. But that kind of all happens at close proximity. Yeah, 30-06, you got to watch his videos. He's on that Beta 300. Just got some new tires and some suspension done. He also did 4 laps, so he did pretty well. Nope, that's an orange bike. That's not him. There's Jackson. Passing me on the left again. Small Fortune Racing. His video's up already. That's kind of how I knew where he was watching his video. When he and I were both in the same class a couple years ago, we had a couple races where we stayed pretty close. But he's done pretty well. In Master C, I think he's currently leading that class. Kind of letting him get away from me here. The little 250s seems like it's more maneuverable in this tight stuff, where 600 was an advantage out in the open field. As far as tires go, I've been running this same VX. There's the other XR600. They're on my left. I passed him there. He also did 400 or 4 laps on the 600. This was a little tricky, getting over that guy off camber with a big old root or limb down. Anyway, the other 600, he also did 4 laps. He was in the heavy C, row 13. I think I finished my 4 laps a little faster than he did. He was kick-starting the bike when I came through, so I can identify with that situation. I started to talk about my front tire. I've been on the same VX40 for several races now, maybe the whole season. I think that's my first VX40, so yeah, it's been on there all season. It's starting to have a couple knobs come loose. There's Jackson. I'm coming closer to him again, but it's probably time. I probably need to change it out before the last race. I'm running the 9090 on it. I've been happy with it. The only time I wasn't happy with it was the last race. The mud was just sticking to it. But I think, talking to some of my buddies, I think the reason that was is I just didn't have enough traction out of the rear, and I just wasn't able to get going fast enough to clear out. It really wasn't any fault of the VX. No washouts or anything this race, even with some age on it. Another place guys were struggling to cross, took the far left crossing. I did see a lot of that this race. Guys passing him and falling. This hill here, I kind of accidentally took it every time. I never anticipated it, and boy, it was steep. I don't know how it looked there on the video if you could appreciate it, but you definitely have a feeling that you're dropping vertical for a second. That was actually the worst downhill right there, but it really wasn't part of the original course intent, I don't think. I think it was somewhat of a shortcut that developed during the race, but boy, it was super steep. So this was fun. I'd get in the 4th gear and then pull it wide open. And unfortunately, I'm hanging on so much, I don't clean my GoPro, and you're going to have to stare at that mud for the last few minutes here. But this was pretty cool. The 600 really liked this. So Cash said this was part of the extension they did to make the course a little bit longer. It was only 6.5 miles even with this, but they ran us across that field and then took us through this wood section here, the last wood section. And generally it wasn't too bad. Nothing too crazy. Not really too fast, but not too difficult either. Hug the far right to kind of stay out of those ruts. Now we're heading back up towards scoring. Got about 10 seconds left. I don't know if those are fans or what, but anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that, and we'll see you at round 10 later.